The video you have just watched are the last moments that 8-year-old Nurin Jazlan from Malaysia was ever seen. It was a warm August evening in 2007 when she never came back from the night market where she went to get hair clips. What would follow would be weeks of fruitless investigation as everyone in the country scrambled to find her. Armed with only CCTV camera footage and eyewitness reports, the young case would become the most tragic case in recent Malaysia. But what exactly happened? Did she run away? Was she abducted? And how did a simple gym bag strike fear and grief into the hearts of millions worldwide? Born on September 11, 1999, Nurin Jazlan Binti Jaziman was the daughter of Nurazian Bistaman and Jasmine Abdul Jalil. Born as the second child, Nurin suffered from kidney disease and hypertension, and as such required daily medication to stay fit and avoid hurtful symptoms. Attending second grade at Cabang Sandesa Setapak School in Kuala Lumpur, Nurin was beloved by all and, despite her medical condition, lived an active and radiant life. Described by many as radiant, helpful, and cheerful, Nurin adored spending time with her family. And one of her favorite ways to do this was by exploring the night market with her parents, particularly to buy hair clips, which she absolutely adored wearing on her long, wavy hair. Besides her cheerful demeanor, Nurin was also known by many for her shiny hair, which, according to many, was the envy of many girls in the area. Taking pride in her luscious hair, Nurin loved to embellish it with pretty clips she collected from the market. Lucky for her, there was a night market not far from her home in Wangsa Maju, Kuala Lumpur. For the people in the area, the night market was not just a place to shop, but rather a vibrant hub of activity, trade, games, and a source of joy for many, including the sweet 8-year-old girl who had grown fond of the bustling atmosphere and the array of goods available for purchase. Sadly, this night market that she so adored would be the stage for a tragedy that not only changed her family forever, but also shook the nation for years to come. It all started on the evening of August 20th, 2007, around 8:30 p.m. Nurin had asked to go to the night market near her home to buy her favorite item, hair clips. Sadly, on that day, her elder sister was unable to follow her for some reason, and so her mom, Nurazian, allowed Nurin to go alone, reasoning that the market was not too far and if anything should happen, she could get to her daughter quickly. Sadly, she was very wrong. As the night went on, it slowly turned to tragedy, as Nurin never returned home that night. Concerned by her lateness, her parents began to worry, and soon Nurazian went to the market to search for her daughter. Upon getting to the market, she began to question each stall, especially the one where Nurin usually bought her favorite hair clips. Unfortunately, no one had seen Nurin, and as the night wore on, her absence grew increasingly alarming. As the hours passed without any sign of Nurin, Nurazian's search efforts proved futile. Eventually, filled with dread, Nurin's parents filed a missing child report with the police. And a few hours later, the community, along with media outlets, civilians, and non-governmental organizations, immediately rallied together to begin a search for the now missing child. Heartbreakingly, one of the first and most gut-wrenching leads came from a neighbor who claimed to have witnessed Nurin being followed by an unknown man in his 20s. The news quickly upset the family and put the authorities on their toes, but sadly, this was the tip of the iceberg, as from their vantage point, they watched in horror as another man joined them, and together they forcibly dragged Nurin into a white van, despite her struggles and desperate cries for help. To make matters worse and increase everyone's panic, this chilling account was later corroborated by another source, further solidifying the grim reality that Nurin had indeed been abducted. However, the second did have a little difference. This time it wasn't a neighbor who witnessed the tragedy, but a relative or cousin who did. And it wasn't two men, but one. Apparently, the cousin was not concerned by the situation, as they assumed it was a family girl bringing the young girl home. However, regardless of the account, one thing was clear: Nurin had been kidnapped. Sadly, despite the tireless efforts of approximately 300 volunteers and law enforcement personnel, which included police officers, city hall personnel, and members of local NGOs, Nurin remained missing. As time went on, the abduction of Nurin Jaslin Jasmine plunged the entire community into despair, igniting a nationwide quest for truth and justice. Sadly, weeks later, the search for Nurin took an even more devastating turn. In a desperate attempt to locate Nurin, her parents sought the help of Dr. Sazali Ahmed, a forensic expert specializing in hypnosis. Upon accepting their request, Dr. Sazali employed a technique known as remote viewing, where individuals enter a semi-conscious state to gather information about a target using the mind's connection. During one of these sessions involving Nurin's mother, cousin, best friend, and a student, a shocking revelation emerged. The sessions uncovered distressing information suggesting that Nurin was dying and was trapped in a dark room. Upon hearing this, the search intensified, but sadly, it still remained fruitless. It was during this extensive search that posters featuring Nurin's face and contact details were plastered everywhere in hopes of collecting information. However, in a sad twist of fate, some individuals resorted to abusing these contact numbers by sending unkind messages through texts or calls to the number, hindering the investigation and causing further anguish to Nurin's family. As the days turned to months, Nurin's case began to grow cold. That is, until the morning of September 17th, 2007, when Chun Yan Fang, a store supervisor in Petaling Jaya, noticed a blue gym bag in front of her store, located approximately 16 kilometers away from where Nurin went missing. Initially, assuming it belonged to her manager who had just returned from Singapore, she left it untouched. However, when her manager denied ownership of the bag, they decided to inspect its contents together. Expecting to find personal belongings inside. Sadly, what they found was way more tragic. To their profound horror, upon opening the bag, they discovered a pair of legs inside. Shocked and alarmed, they immediately contacted the police, not daring to further examine the bag. Upon arriving at the scene, the police conducted a thorough inspection and confirmed the presence of a lifeless body inside the bag. The victim was a young girl, naked and curled up in a fetal position, and at the time, many thought she was Nurin. The gym bag, found so far from where Nurin was last seen, raised a multitude of questions and sent shockwaves through the community. The discovery marked a tragic turning point in the search for Nurin, confirming the worst fears of her loved ones and intensifying the urgency to uncover the truth behind her disappearance and untimely death. The body was later sent to Kuala Lumpur Hospital for an autopsy, where it was confirmed to have been Nurin, 8 years old. According to the autopsy, she had become very emaciated, most likely due to starvation, and had bruises all over her body, especially around her neck and wrist, as if they had used a rope to tie and strangulate her. However, perhaps the worst part of this case was what was found in her genitals, as the coroner noted that he had found a cucumber and eggplant shoved into her genitals, causing her rectum to bow out and be infected. To make things even more scary, Nurin had died just 6 hours before her body was found. Upon completing the autopsy, her parents were invited to identify their daughter. However, when her parents were at the hospital, they initially denied that the mangled and almost unidentifiable body belonged to Nurin. Her dad was especially adamant, as he noted some inconsistencies between the body and his daughter, such as a gap between the teeth, which she never had, and the absence of a scar near her thigh, which Nurin had. However, despite their initial disbelief, DNA tests later confirmed that the body was indeed Niren's. This heartbreaking revelation shattered her parents, as they had clung to the hope that their daughter was still alive and had even been the victims of several prank calls from people claiming that Niren was under their care. But sadly, the harsh reality of her death soon washed them in profound grief. Despite their anguish, Niren's parents remained determined to seek justice for her memory, demanding answers and accountability for the heinous crime that robbed them of their precious child. Niren was later buried at the Muslim cemetery in Taman Ibu Kota, Setapak, Kuala Lumpur, on September 21st after the Friday noon prayers. The brutal torture and tragic death of Niren Jasmine at the hands of an unknown assailant believed to be a psychopathic killer sent shockwaves of outrage and disbelief throughout Malaysia. The heinous nature of the crime captured national attention, with Malaysian media and internet blogs overflowing with sorrow and anger. Many regard Niren's murder as the most horrifying crime in years, prompting calls for action and justice. In response to the case, then Prime Minister Abdullah Ahmed Badal discussed the possibility of publicizing the list of convicted child sex offenders, acknowledging the need for greater transparency and protection for children. However, the investigation took a distressing turn when Inspector General of Police Musa Hassan suggested arresting Niren's parents for negligence, a move that sparked an even greater public outcry. Many, including prominent figures like Lee Lam Tai, chairman of the Malaysia Crime Prevention Foundation, argued against blaming the parents, emphasizing the unfairness of further punishment in the face of such a tragedy. As the investigation unfolded, authorities made arrests in connection with Niren's murder, bringing hope for justice. In search of justice, federal agents raided a shop in Shah Alam, detaining several individuals for questioning. But sadly, despite initial optimism, the suspects were later released due to a lack of evidence, leaving the investigation at a standstill. Subsequent efforts, including the offering of rewards for information leading to the killer's arrest, yielded limited results. All that was available was a rough sketch of the killers and surveillance footage from a CCTV camera near the location where Niren's body was discovered, which sadly, despite enhancements by the FBI, only showed the killer drop the bag and the white van used to kidnap her, but failed to provide clear identification of the perpetrators or license plate, leaving investigators frustrated and the community yearning for closure. In honor of Niren, her uncle put up a website to tell her story and that of many children who had gone missing since her. Following this, the country opened a brand new division known as D11 that was focused on the handling of child-related crimes. Sadly, to date, her killers were never found, but thankfully, the case is still open as police are still looking for the killers who shook all of Malaysia. But what do you think? Will they ever catch the culprits, or will they go scot-free, leaving their crimes in the past? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below, and if you liked the video, please give it a like and subscribe. Until next time, stay safe.